Before Wi-Fi. Before smartphones. Before everything turned into a notification. There was life. And not just any life, but a full, rich face-to-face kind of living. For those who remember the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, this isn't nostalgia. It's memory. Let's revisit how we lived deeply without scrolling endlessly. Part 1. Winter without Netflix. Real rest, real connection. Winter used to be a quiet season, and that was a good thing. We didn't escape the cold through screens. We welcomed it as a time to slow down. Snow meant soup simmering all day, mittens drying by the radiator, and evenings with books, not binge watching. The fire crackled, the radio played softly, and families gathered. Without smartphones, we had full attention for each other. We talked, played board games, and even enjoyed silence. No one rushed, because there was nowhere else to be but home. Together. Part 2. Dating without apps. When romance was real. Before swiping left and right, people met in person. At school. At church. At community dances. You didn't send a text, you built up the courage to call. And when someone said yes to a date, it meant something. We got dressed up. Showed up on time. Held hands on porch steps. Romance wasn't curated for social media. It unfolded slowly, sincerely. You weren't worried about likes. You were focused on one person, one moment. That kind of connection doesn't go out of style. It just takes patience and presence. Part 3. Parenting before Google. Raising kids with trust. Back then, parenting wasn't about tracking your child's every move. It was about preparing them to handle the world on their own. We let our kids ride bikes without GPS. Taught them to cross streets, use manners, fix their own sandwiches. They got scraped knees and learned from them. They solved their own problems without Googling for answers. Yes, we worried, but we also trusted. Because raising a child wasn't about controlling them. It was about guiding them. And that trust, it gave them strength and gave us peace. Part 4. Letters that meant something before email and text. A letter wasn't just words on a page. It was a piece of your time, your heart, your handwriting. We sat down, thought carefully, and wrote with intention. The anticipation of waiting and then receiving made every letter feel like a treasure. You couldn't delete a letter. You saved it, tied it with ribbon, kept it in a drawer for decades. Today, communication is instant. But instant isn't always meaningful. Maybe it's time to pick up a pen again, to write and really be heard. Part 5. Radio days, when sound connected us all. Before podcasts and playlists, radio was king. It brought us music, news, and voices that felt like family. Every home had a favorite station. We turned the dial, not the screen. And when your favorite song came on, you sang along whether you could sing or not. We listened together, not alone with earbuds. Radio connected communities. The voice on the air became part of the home. Warm, familiar, real. Even now, the power of a voice can bring people together. Sometimes that's all we need. Part 6. Getting lost and finding our way without GPS. We used to travel with maps. Paper ones, folded ones, torn at the corner ones. Getting lost wasn't a crisis. It was part of the journey. You asked a stranger. You pulled over at a diner. You figured it out. That taught us resilience. And it taught us how to pay attention, to signs, to surroundings, to people. Today we let a voice on a screen guide us. But sometimes it's better to find your own way. Because real directions don't always come from satellites. They come from experience. Part 7. Weekends were sacred, rest without distraction. The weekend used to mean something. Stores closed early. Phones didn't follow you everywhere. Saturday meant mowing the lawn, fixing a fence, or visiting family. Sunday was for church, a big dinner, and maybe a drive in the country. No deadlines. No emails. Just rest. Now everything runs 24/7. But human beings weren't built for that. We all need space to pause. To do nothing and feel good about it. Let's bring back the weekend the way it was meant to be. Part 8. Real photographs. When memories lived in albums. We didn't take 100 pictures a day. We took a few and they mattered. We had to wait for film to develop. Sometimes weeks. But when those prints came back, it was magic. We looked at them slowly, carefully. We put them in albums. We remembered. Now we take thousands of photos and forget most of them. Maybe it's time to print a few. Frame them. Hold them in our hands. Because memories deserve more than just a scroll. Part 9. Being alone wasn't scary, it was normal. Before social media, you could spend a whole afternoon alone and not feel lonely. You'd take a walk, sit with a book, stare out the window with a cup of tea. We were comfortable with stillness. We weren't always looking for noise. Solitude wasn't something to fix, it was something to enjoy. Today, every quiet moment gets filled with scrolling. But maybe what we need isn't distraction. Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's ourselves. Being alone isn't being empty. It's being whole. Part 10. Convenience versus meaning, what we gave up for speed. Today everything's fast. One-click delivery. Microwaves. Auto-replies. But back then life took time. And because it took time, it had meaning. Cooking from scratch wasn't a chore. It was love on a plate. Fixing a broken toaster wasn't wasted time. It was pride. We didn't rush through life. We lived it. Convenience is nice. But meaning is better. And sometimes the longer road is the one worth taking. Part 11. Music was a ritual, not background noise. Music wasn't always just noise in our earbuds. Back then, listening to music was an event. You'd save up for a vinyl record. You'd bring it home, unwrap it carefully, place the needle down and sit. Just sit. Not scroll. Not multitask. You listened. The album played all the way through, beginning to end. You read the lyrics. Memorized the liner notes. You felt every word. Whether it was Elvis, the Supremes, or Johnny Cash, that voice filled the room and filled your soul. Today we skip through songs. Back then we lived inside them. Maybe it's time we listen again, not just hear. Part 12. We knew our neighbors, really knew them. In the past, your neighbors weren't strangers. They were part of your daily life. You borrowed a cup of sugar not out of inconvenience, but connection. You said good morning, shared news, offered help without needing to be asked. Kids played in each other's yards. Adults watched out for everyone's children. We didn't lock doors, not because we were naive, but because we trusted. A neighborhood wasn't just a place to live. It was a small living community. Now we wave from a distance, if we wave at all. But maybe we still crave that closeness. We just need to take the first step. A knock, a smile, a real conversation. That's how community starts and how loneliness ends. Part 13. Meals were moments, not just fuel. There was a time when dinner meant more than just food. It meant family, conversation, togetherness. We set the table. We said grace. We passed dishes. We shared stories. There were no phones at the table because there were no phones in our pockets. Only people. Only presence. Even a simple meal, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, felt like something. Because we were together. Now, fast food and frozen meals dominate. But real meals aren't about ingredients. They're about intention. Maybe it's not too late to bring it back. Start with one meal. One evening. Sit. Eat slowly. It's good for the body and better for the soul. Part 14. Waiting was normal, and sometimes beautiful. We didn't always get things instantly. And that wasn't a problem. It was life. You waited for the mail. You waited for your film to develop. You waited for the radio to play your favorite song. And in that waiting, something happened. You built anticipation. You learned patience. You appreciated things more when they arrived. Today, everything is on demand. But the faster things come, the less we seem to value them. Not everything needs to be rushed. Sometimes what we wait for ends up meaning the most. Let's not be afraid of waiting. Let's remember how sweet it can be. Part 15. Childhood was wild, and that was healthy. Before apps, before tablets, childhood was lived outside. Kids ran free until the streetlights came on. They built forts, climbed trees, scraped their knees, and didn't come home until dinner. There were no GPS trackers, just bike tires, dirt, and imagination. We weren't overprotected. We were trusted to explore, to fall, to get up. And that freedom built something in us: courage, curiosity, common sense. Today's kids have everything but freedom. But maybe what they need most is less control and more space to be kids. Let's teach them how we played. And maybe, just maybe, they'll learn how to live. We don't need to erase the modern world, but we can remember what came before it and bring the best of it into today. Because while technology changes, the heart doesn't. We still long for connection, for purpose, for peace. And sometimes the answers aren't new. They're just waiting to be remembered.